Hi, Christy here with Make Everyday Colorful. Today I want to show you how to make a deer chili or a beef chili. So let's get started. So to start off, we're going to have our 2 pounds of deer meat. I have a large cast iron pot, Dutch oven, and I have a bunch of seasoning right here. So I'm just going to kind of run down what I'm going to be putting in here to season it. I have parsley flakes, chili powder, granulated garlic, black powder. I use a lot of seasoning in my stuff, but it tastes delicious. Cumin, paprika. I even put a beef bouillon cube in there. This is coriander seeds that I ground up. Cayenne pepper, and I always put just like a little bit of basil, oregano, and thyme in mine. As well as I'm going to saute in there. I use bacon fat as my grease, and I put minced garlic and onions and bell pepper and celery. So I'm going to get started with seasoning my meat, and after I'm done seasoning my meat, I'm going to start sauteing my vegetables and then add the meat in. I also like to use beans in mine. I'm still not sure if I want to use 1 or 2 cans. I'm probably going to use 2 cans. This is what I have in the pantry. So sometimes I'll cook dry beans, which I'll cook the beans first and then add them to the chili. But I have these canned beans, so I figured I'd use these. This is pinto beans and kidney beans. So that's something else I'm going to put in my chili. So let me get started with seasoning, and I will show you how much seasoning I put just so you can kind of see. But like I said, I'm not really the type person to measure it out. So let me get this started. One seasoning I forgot to mention was salt. So I'm just going to show you how I'm seasoning everything. Like I said, I don't really measure, but you can just kind of see what I'm doing. So I don't put as much cayenne as I probably would have in the past because my kids won't like it. So if I had to guess, I'd probably be about a half a teaspoon that I just put. If I had to guess. Salt. Probably about 1 to 2 teaspoons. Cumin is something else I like putting in there. That would probably be about easily 2 to 3 teaspoons. I'm gonna put some thyme in there. So I guess that would be probably about a teaspoon of that. Greek oregano. Again, probably about the same, probably about a teaspoon. And I like mine like almost like a powdery, where it's not big chunks. Granulated garlic. This is one of my favorite seasonings for things. This one is probably like a tablespoon or 2, honestly. Chili powder, probably about the same, at least a tablespoon. Paprika, probably close to a tablespoon, half a tablespoon to a tablespoon. This is basil. A lot of this stuff is just from my garden. Same thing with the oregano. I really just kind of get it kind of as fine as I can, and I don't put too much basil. I guess it ended up being probably close to a teaspoon of basil. And parsley. This is also from my garden. I actually would put, if I was like getting parsley from the store, I mean, if you got like, I say a bunch from the store, like a little bunch, you could even probably cut it all up in here. I would say this is at least a couple teaspoons to a couple tablespoons. I just want my stuff to have a lot of flavor. So I'm on to the black pepper. This too, I'd say probably about a tablespoon. Now these ground up coriander seeds, I'd say that's probably about a half to a tablespoon. And honestly, the bouillon cube, I'm not going to put that in right now. I am going to put that in whenever I basically have everything in my pot ready to go. And I'm just going to start mixing. Nice. You think you got it mixed pretty thoroughly? I'm gonna let it sit a few minutes, and I'm gonna start sauteing my veggies. And then then I'll come back and add this into the pot. Another thing you're gonna wanna add to your chili, I have a can of tomato sauce and a can of diced tomatoes. Okay, I have my pot heating up. I'm now gonna put my bacon fat and my veggies. So if you're a busy mom like me, you might have a lot of this stuff kind of pre-frozen. Usually when I get bacon, I always get the bacon fats in pieces, and I cut off like all the big chunks of fat and I render the bacon. Maybe I'll have to do a video on that. So this is my bacon fat, and I just keep it in the freezer. So I'm just putting a couple chunks of this. I guess it would end up being a couple tablespoons. I'm gonna melt that down. Once that is melted, I am going to add my veggies. So this is what it looks like. Just getting it to melt. My bacon fat is now melted, so I'm gonna start adding in my veggies. Just like my other stuff, I have my onions pre-frozen too. My husband's grandmother always does these for me because she knows I'm so busy. And I really don't like cutting up onions. It hurts my eyes. It is really sizzling. Because it is frozen and I'm putting it in grease, of course it's going crazy. So I would say that would probably be equivalent to about an onion. So I'm gonna start cooking that down. It's gonna all fall apart. I'm also gonna add in my celery. Same thing, I have it kind of pre-frozen. I put it in these ice cube trays. So I usually put 2 to 3 of these. Pop that in there. Same thing, bell peppers. I like fresh bell peppers, but I have these red ones frozen, so I'm just going to use these up instead of having to cut it up today because we have a lot going on today. So you would want to have about the equivalent of 1 bell pepper cut up in here. I have freeze-dried green bell peppers that I may toss in a little later once we have more liquids in here. I'm cooking all this down. Once I get this cooked down a little bit, I'm going to add some minced garlic. This is where we're at with it. So it still kind of has some chunks because it was frozen, but it's still falling apart. So we'll saute this a couple minutes, add our garlic, and then go to the next step. Okay, our veggies have been cooking down for several minutes. So now I'm gonna add in the granulated garlic. I do have garlic that I actually grew, but this is also a cheater for me. This is just from Sam's, and it's a bunch of, I say granulated, minced garlic. I just have like a little coffee spoon, and I usually get 2 big scoops. So I guess if I had to guess, this would probably be about a tablespoon each. So probably about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. Gonna stir that in. Get it fragrant for about 30 seconds. Now that I have all that kind of sauteed down, I'm now gonna put my meat. And I just want to brown my meat. Same time making sure it stays broken up and doesn't cook into one gigantic hamburger. So this is going to take a couple minutes of just browning. Once everything is brown is when I'm going to add my sauces and my beans and just let it cook for a little while. And I always taste it to see if it needs more seasoning. My meat nice and brown. So one thing I wanted to add, I know some of the bouillon cubes, if you are using vegetable stock or beef stock or chicken stock, you can probably omit the bouillon cube, but I just feel like it adds flavor, and I don't have chicken stock. So I'm actually going to put 2 cups of chicken stock in here along with the tomato sauce and the diced tomatoes. And after I get all that in, I'll throw in the beans and I'll show you how all that looks. So I'm putting 2 cups of water. So that is replacing my chicken stock. I'm actually going to put like 3 of these cubes. So now I'm going to start adding my cans. I'm going to add my tomato sauce first. Then my diced tomatoes. I'm going to turn this fire down a good bit. Now my 2 cans of beans. So now, we just basically have to cook it for a while. We want to cook a lot of this liquid down. Okay, so I'm just going to let this cook down, probably about a medium-high heat. I'm going to let it cook down for a while, just kind of get all the flavors in there. And once it's cooked down for a while, I'll get a lot of this juice to go down. Then I'm going to taste it and see if it needs more seasoning. It's only been about 20 minutes and it's already thickened up quite a bit. So I'm going to let it cook a little bit longer. And then I'm going to taste it and adjust any seasonings that I want. I always add something at the end. Usually granulated garlic. But yeah, it's starting to look good. So we'll check back on it in a few minutes. Probably been about another 7 minutes. I think it's at a nice consistency. So I think adding the 2 cups of water and then the bouillon cubes was just fine. So now I want to taste it. Got a couple of clean spoons here. That way I can taste and see the seasonings I need to add, because that's just how I do. So I'm going to let it blowing on my spoon a little bit. I don't want to burn my mouth here. It actually tastes pretty good. I think I'm just going to put a little bit more cumin and chili and granulated garlic. But honestly, it's pretty good. I always tend to add more garlic to my recipes, and you might think, wow, that's a lot, but it tastes good and I get compliments on my food all the time, so I must be doing something right. Same with my other stuff. I don't want to over season anything, but this is paprika, chili, granulated garlic, and I'm putting a little bit of cumin. But I like to have nice, rich flavors. So if I had to guess, I'd probably put at least close to a tablespoon of all of these, or about a tablespoon of all of these. I'm going to stir it back in. I'm going to let it do this for a few minutes. You know, another good thing that I should have put in here from my garden would have been some green onions, maybe when I was sauteing everything. I think that would have gave it extra flavor as well. But I didn't think about it till now. Alright, so I'm going to let this cook a few minutes, and then I'm coming back and taste it again and see what I think. In a few minutes, so I'm going to come here, stir it up, and taste it again. And I wanted to add this. You can always add more seasoning, you cannot take away. So in the beginning, if you're nervous about putting as much seasoning as I did, maybe your palate's not the same as mine, you know, you could put a little bit less, and like at the end right here, you can add a little bit at a time and see what you think. But I've been cooking for years, so I'm kind of comfortable with what I'm putting in, and I still add usually at the end, but don't add too much if you think it's too much. Okay, let me blow, give this a little pull. I think that's pretty good. This is my deer chili. Like I said, you can do this with beef as well. It makes really good chili, and it really didn't take me long. I probably did this in less than an hour. If you wanted to, after you put like all your cans and stuff in, if you wanted to cook it like lower for a longer period of time, maybe you're trying to really get the flavors to come out, you can. But if you're in a hurry, you could have this chili done within an hour if the beans are already cooked, canned, and you're not starting from dry beans. Thank you for watching how to make deer chili with me. Today I'll make everyday colorful. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I really do hope you click and subscribe. You can even turn on the bell to get notifications. Have a blessed day, and please comment below on what you thought about the recipe, if there's anything that you usually add to your chili or take away, or if you tried this one out and you liked it, just let me know what you think.